The moment this news came out, it caught a lot of people off guard. But once you dig a little deeper, it actually makes perfect sense. Ferrari has confirmed that Lewis Hamilton will not take part in the first practice session at Abu Dhabi, and instead, Arthur Leclerc will step into his car for FP1. And hearing that for the first time, I know it sounds dramatic, almost like something big is happening behind the scenes, but really, it's a procedural, strategic decision from the team. Still, it's one of those headlines that immediately grabs your attention because anytime Hamilton steps out of the car, even for a single session, fans start wondering what's going on. So let's break it down clearly from the start, because once you understand the context, everything falls into place. Ferrari needs to satisfy one of the mandatory rookie sessions for the season, a requirement every team must complete before the year ends. Abu Dhabi is the last stop on the calendar, and time has simply run us out. Someone had to give up a seat, and Hamilton is the one Ferrari selected for this session. What makes this choice even more interesting is that the replacement is not just any rookie, it's Arthur Leclerc, Charles Leclerc's younger brother. That adds a layer of curiosity and pressure, because stepping into a Ferrari, even for 1 hour on a Friday, is a huge moment for any driver, let alone someone carrying the Leclerc name. But before jumping into conclusions about Hamilton's situation, it's important to understand that FP1 at Abu Dhabi is often used by teams to gather data, test setups, and fulfill obligations like this one. It doesn't hint at some kind of last-minute drama or dissatisfaction. It's simply Ferrari doing what every team eventually does during the season. What matters more is how Hamilton uses the rest of the weekend, starting from FP2 onward, when the real preparation for qualifying and the race begins. Let me ask you something right away to kick off the conversation. Were you surprised when you heard Hamilton wouldn't be driving FP1? Or did you expect Ferrari to use this final race to check off the rookie requirement? Tell me in the comments. And if you want updates like this as soon as they break, subscribe and enable notifications. We're pushing toward our goal of 2,000 subscribers, and every new subscription really helps this channel grow. Now that the headline is clear, let's move into the real reason behind this whole decision, because the rule itself is a big part of the story, and it explains why teams make choices like this at the end of the season. Teams don't just hand over a Formula One car for fun, especially not a Ferrari, and especially not when Lewis Hamilton is the one stepping aside. There's a very specific rule behind this move, and once you understand it, the whole situation becomes straightforward. Every team on the grid is required to run a rookie driver in at least 2 FP1 sessions during the season. A rookie, according to the sporting regulations, isn't just a young driver or a famous surname. It's a driver who has started no more than 2 Grand Prix in their career. That means even highly experienced reserve drivers with thousands of simulator laps still count as rookies if they haven't officially raced. Ferrari, like a few other teams this year, simply waited too long to fulfill the requirement. Coming into the final race weekend, they still had one of those mandatory sessions left to complete. Abu Dhabi FP1 often becomes the last possible chance for teams to meet the rule because it's a stable, predictable circuit. That makes it safer for inexperienced drivers and easier for engineers to collect clean, useful data. So with the clock ticking, Ferrari had no choice but to hand the car to a rookie, and Arthur Leclerc was the natural pick. He already has experience with the team's simulator work, he's been part of their development program, and he has participated in an FP1 session before, making him familiar with the pressure and procedures involved. This rule exists for a reason, and it actually plays a positive role in shaping the future of Formula One. It forces teams to expose young drivers to real track time instead of keeping them locked in simulators for years. Teams sometimes treat these sessions like scouting missions. They want to evaluate how a driver handles pressure, communicates feedback, adapts to the car, and works with engineers. For Ferrari, this is also a chance to compare Arthur's driving style directly with data from Hamilton and Charles, even if the conditions vary. That kind of insight can be valuable for long-term planning. Let me ask you something as we dive into this. Do you think this rookie rule improves F1 by giving young drivers more opportunities? Or would you rather teams have full freedom over FP1? Just type yes or no in the comments so I can see where you stand. And if you like having these rules explained in a simple, clear way, subscribe and help us push toward our goal of 2,000 subscribers. Your support genuinely makes a difference. Now that the rule is out of the way and the decision makes more sense, let's talk about Hamilton himself, because this rookie session comes at a time when his first year at Ferrari has already been under the microscope. If you've been following Hamilton's first season with Ferrari, you already know it hasn't been the dream start many fans expected. The move itself was historic, full of hope, excitement, and a sense that we were entering a brand new chapter in Formula One. But once the racing began, reality hit hard. The car simply hasn't given him the platform he needs. Week after week, the performance has been inconsistent, and the connection between Hamilton and the SF package just hasn't clicked the way Ferrari hoped. That makes this FP1 absence even more interesting, because when a driver is struggling, every minute in the car matters. Missing track time can seem symbolic, even if it isn't intended that way. From the outside, some fans immediately wondered if this was some kind of statement about Hamilton's form, or a sign he was being pushed aside. But when you look at the broader picture, it's not about that at all. This is still Hamilton. This is still a 7-time world champion, someone who understands the long game better than almost anyone in the sport. He knows FP1 at Abu Dhabi doesn't define his weekend. The real preparation starts in FP2 and continues into qualifying. And if anything, this situation might actually help him. Watching data, observing the car from the garage, and having fresh eyes on the track can give him a different perspective before he jumps back in for FP2. Still, there's no denying that this season has been tough on him mentally. The expectations were sky high. The pressure from the Italian media has been relentless, and every mistake, whether it was his or the team's, has been magnified. You can see it in the way he speaks after races. There's frustration, but also determination. He hasn't checked out. He hasn't given up. And that's one reason why this moment matters. Even something as small as an FP1 handover becomes part of the narrative of a challenging season, because fans are watching his every move to figure out what this year means for his future with Ferrari. And what about the team? Internally, they know they haven't delivered the car he needs. They know this hasn't been the smooth introduction they imagined. That's why every session, every upgrade, every decision carries extra weight right now. Ferrari wants to reset the tone, and Hamilton wants to end the season with momentum, even if the results haven't been there yet. Let me ask you something directly. Do you think this difficult first year affects how Hamilton approaches next season? Or do you believe he'll bounce back immediately once Ferrari gives him a sharper package? Tell me your honest take in the comments. And if you want more deep dives like this one, make sure to subscribe and help us reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers. Next, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, because Ferrari isn't the only team running rookies this weekend. Some of the decisions across the grid might surprise you. Across the grid, Abu Dhabi has quietly become the unofficial showcase weekend for young talent, because teams that still need to complete their rookie FP1 requirements tend to leave everything until the very end of the season, and this year is no different. While the spotlight naturally falls on Arthur Leclerc stepping into Hamilton's Ferrari, he's far from the only new face getting a taste of Formula One machinery. In fact, several teams are using this final FP1 exactly the same way, to evaluate, compare and expose young drivers to real track conditions before they make any decisions about the future. You'll see teams like Williams, Sauber and Haas running their academy prospects, not because they're making immediate changes, but because FP1 is one of the very few real-world opportunities to measure how a young driver reacts when the lights turn green. Simulator talent can only take someone so far. The real test is on track, in traffic, dealing with pressure, and feeding consistent feedback to engineers. That's why these rookie sessions matter more than people think. They give teams a direct performance sample, something that becomes incredibly valuable when they're choosing reserve drivers, development drivers, or even long-term candidates for future seats. And the interesting part is that each team approaches these sessions with different objectives. Some want pure performance, one quick lap to judge raw speed. Others use the session for race simulations, testing how well a rookie manages tyre behaviour, fuel loads, and communication. And then there are teams that treat FP1 as an informal audition. Even if a driver isn't being considered for next season, their performance can shape how they're placed in junior programs, endurance series, or even potential test roles. Ferrari's decision fits right into that logic. Running Arthur Leclerc isn't only about fulfilling the rule, it's also a chance to see how far he's developed compared to his last FP1 outing. The team gets fresh data on his technique, confidence, and adaptability, and they can compare his inputs directly to Hamilton and Charles on the same weekend. That's incredibly valuable when shaping the long-term direction of the driver academy. And with the 2026 regulations coming soon, every team is already thinking about which young drivers could grow into competitive options during that new era. Let me bring you into this conversation. Out of all the rookies getting track time this weekend, who do you think has the best chance of making it to a full-time seat in the next couple of years? Drop a name in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to see who stands out for you. And if you enjoy these broader looks at what's happening across the grid, remember to subscribe and help us push toward our goal of 2,000 subscribers. Your support helps this channel grow and keeps these deep dive videos coming. Now that we've looked at the grid-wide implications, it's time to bring everything together and talk about what you should really watch for during the rest of the weekend. The key storylines, the expectations, and how this FP1 swap could shape the final moments of the season. Let's get into it.